Hi guys, this is Mrs. Dunnigan, and I wanted to do a quick mini lesson review on fragments and run-ons. And so we are going to start off with actually the definition of a complete sentence. So I don't have this on this document, however, a complete sentence should have a subject, that's the who or what is doing it. It needs to have a verb. Sometimes you'll hear the verb referred to as the predicate, and that's what the subject is doing. And it needs to express a complete thought or be able to stand on its own. So, let's talk about fragments versus run-ons. A fragment occurs when a sentence is missing either the subject or it's missing the predicate, and once again that means verb or verb phrase, or it's missing both of them. Okay, we want to avoid fragments. They're incomplete sentences in our writing. Another common error is that we can have a run-on sentence, and this occurs when we have two or more sentences, two or more independent clauses, and when I say that, I mean that each sentence or each independent clause has a subject, a verb, and expresses a complete thought. However, these two sentences do not have the correct punctuation in between them, and they're actually running together into each other to make one incorrect sentence, and we call that a run-on sentence. There's a couple different ways that we can fix a run-on sentence, and you really need to know some of the rules to forming a compound sentence to avoid the run-on. The first and easiest way to fix it would be just to add a period between the two independent clauses, the two sentences. The second rule would be that we would add a comma plus a fanboy. And when I have fanboys right here, this is the fancy word for coordinating conjunctions. And so what I've done is I've gone ahead over here, I've written out fanboys. If you're taking notes, I would definitely suggest writing this down, fanboys, if you have never learned this before. Each letter in fanboy stands for a different coordinating conjunction. And so these are really good to memorize. So we've got for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And I definitely would encourage you to memorize those. It comes in handy. So if I have a comma and one of these joining my two sentences or my two independent clauses, it will no longer be a run-on. It will now be a compound sentence, and that is something that we definitely want to see you using in your writing. And then the third way that we could do this is we're not going to use one of the fanboys. Instead of a period and instead of the comma fanboy, we're going to use the semicolon. Okay, and just so that we're crystal clear on what a semicolon looks like, I'm going to put one in parentheses for you. Okay, so it looks like a period right above a comma. That's the semicolon. Now, if you use the semicolon, you need to make sure that you do not use one of the fanboys. It's not the same as a comma. This is a little bit stronger statement when you use this punctuation than the comma fanboy. All right, so I'm going to give you an example right here, and then we're going to fix it. We'll just say it's teaching me. We'll keep it simple. Teaching me the rules. All right, so in language arts, I'm learning about run-on sentences. Mrs. Dunnigan is teaching me the rules. So when I look at this, I notice that it should be two different sentences, okay, but they're running together, and that's occurring right here, okay. Unfortunately, there's no punctuation right after sentences and before Miss Dunnigan. So let's look at how to fix this. So that was our incorrect example. All right, so here's going to be fix number one. We can say in language arts, I'm learning about run-on sentences. I can put a period right here. And then normally we would need to capitalize the next word, but because Mrs. Dunnigan is a proper noun, we don't need to do that. It's already capitalized. All right, so that would be our first fix. And just so that we're crystal clear, you guys, as a quick reminder, you can't have subjects in prep phrases. And so if I kind of go through and knock that out, I know that my vertical line or my simple subject is I. That's who this first independent clause is about. I'm going to just do it in yellow. Normally, I would also, with my pencil or whatever, I would draw a vertical line right here, and that just tells me that in language arts, I is the complete subject, I is the simple subject. And then what am I doing? Am learning, that's going to be my simple predicate. I would cross out about run-on sentences, and that's just because it's a prepositional phrase again. And I'm crossing it out because subjects and verbs can't be in there, and it helps me to be able to recognize what is what in my sentence. And sorry, I'm just trying to cross that out. I also realized that Mrs. Dunnigan is my second subject. Is teaching is my simple predicate. So this just kind of helps you see color-coded that we have two subject-verb splits going on right there. All right, so let's talk about another way we can fix this. I can go up here, and instead of putting the period, I can choose to do a comma plus one of the fanboys. So in language arts, I am learning about run-on sentences. And Mrs. Dunnigan is teaching me the rules. If I join it with a comma fanboy, that is going to be the perfect fix, along with, up here it was the period. It's no longer a run-on, it's now a complete sentence. All right, so we've got one more fix that we talked about. Instead of the comma fanboy, I can choose to insert the semicolon. Okay, so in fix 1, I'm making two separate sentences, two simple sentences. In fix 2 and fix 3, I am actually forming a compound sentence correctly. All right, so let's try this. Okay, so for the group of words below, we are going to write CS for complete sentence if it's a complete sentence. We are going to put F if it's a fragment, and we are going to put RO if it's a run-on. All right, so let's take a look at number 1. Existed as long ago as BC 2000. All right, so what I'm noticing right away is that what existed as long ago as BC 2000. And so there's no subject there. There's nobody, there's no who or what that existed. Existed is a verb. So they're on the right track, but unfortunately it's missing the subject. So I can tell then right off the bat that it's going to be a fragment. And number 2, the Maya created hundreds of great cities out of stone. So I'm trying to figure out what I have here, and I know that of great cities is going to be a prep phrase, so I'm going to cross it out. Out of stone is going to be a prep phrase, and I'm crossing those out because subjects and verbs cannot be in there. I notice then that I do have a who. Maya is going to be, and I'm going to just do it in yellow, that's my simple subject. Well, what about the Maya? Created. So that's my simple predicate or my verb. I can say the Maya created hundreds of great cities out of stone. And so then that tells me that this is a complete sentence. It can stand on its own. Number 3, most of the Maya were farmers. They came to the cities to attend festivals. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cross out prep phrases. Of the Maya is now a prepositional phrase. This is a little bit different than the Maya up here. So that's gone. I notice to is a preposition, so to the cities. And then this to right here is actually an infinitive verb phrase, and we learned about those with our the verbals in Study Island. So to attend, to plus a verb is an infinitive verb phrase. It's a little bit different than a prep phrase, so I'm just going to leave it there. So now what I'm going to do is most becomes my simple subject. Were is my verb. Okay, so we've got a linking verb there. And then I notice that there's another verb here, and so I check and realize that this is a subject. They is always going to be a subject because it is a subject pronoun. I, you, he, she, it, we, they. Subject pronouns are what we say. And so I've memorized that little chant, and that just tells me a subject pronoun always has to be used as the subject of a sentence. And then I have a second predicate here. So I've got yellow and green, subjects and predicates on both sides, but I don't have any punctuation in between. And so that tells me that number 3 is a run-on sentence. All right, number 4, only priests, nobles, rulers, and officials. Well, only priests, nobles, rulers, and officials what? And I feel like maybe we should have an S there. So these could possibly become subjects if they actually were doing something, but they're not right now, and so that's a fragment. Number 5, the Maya built a network of roads. These roads encouraged trade between groups of people throughout Central America. All right, so let's go and let's knock out our prep phrases first. Once again, subjects and verbs cannot be in prepositional phrases. So of roads is gone. Between groups. And then of people is a separate one. And throughout Central America is also on. So we had quite a few prepositional phrases in this sentence. So if I go back, I'm going to take Maya here is going to be the subject. What did the Maya do? They built. And then we've got roads is the second subject. And what about the roads? Encouraged. So I'm seeing that I have 2 subjects and 2 verbs. However, they're running together because there's no punctuation right here. And so that would be a run-on sentence. All right, number 6, in the tropical forest of northern Guatemala. All right, so I just want you to see that if I were to cross out prep phrases, in the tropical forest would be one. Of northern Guatemala would be one. And so this entire thing right here is 2 different prepositional phrases. There's no subject, there's no verb, so it's definitely a fragment. Number 7, they were very advanced in science, mathematics, and art. All right, so what I notice is that it's actually going to be in science, mathematics, and art. And if you remember, in is a preposition, and when I do my prep phrases, the noun or pronoun at the end of the prep phrase is always the object of the preposition or OP. This one actually has a compound OP, so science, mathematics, art are all 3 OPs that belong with in. So just FYI, extra info there. They is going to be your simple subject. And were is going to be your simple predicate or verb. And so this is going to be a complete sentence. All right, and just in conclusion, I'm going to pick one of these run-ons. How about, I'm just going to pick this one. It's a little bit shorter. And I want to show you just once again how I can fix this. So we'll say fix number 1 for this run-on. Most of the Maya were farmers. Okay, here comes the second subject. The punctuation must go right there. So we will put a period, and then we would just capitalize that. And now I have 2 independent clauses joined correctly. For fix number 2, instead of the period, I am going to put the comma. Now, if I only put the comma, it is still going to be a run-on. It's a comma splice. This is a big error, and so you have to do one of the fanboys or the coordinating conjunctions, as they're called. So most of the Maya were farmers. I think we'll just do and again. And they came to cities to attend festivals. All right, and then fix number 3.